This is TNA, the new face of professional wrestling.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Feast or Fired. This is the show for the January 29th, 2003 weekly pay-per-view from TNA Wrestling, back in the day. I'm here with my wife.
Hello, it's Melanie.
Yeah, and this is their 30th program now, I believe. So, with the big 3-0, we've got a show. Yeah, I know. My notes are getting shorter and shorter each week, and that's just because this stuff with the Sports Entertainment Extreme storyline keeps dragging out, and I hate it. I hate it too because my notes are getting shorter, but our talking's getting longer because we have to talk about why it's so annoying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyways, let's just get into it. Let's see if we can get through this really quickly. Because if we can get through this quickly, everything's cool. We start with a Raven promo. He still has the belt. He stole it last week after he attacked Jarrett at the end of the show. He says he's planning to show Jarrett the error of his ways and uses some very, very unique, I guess, metaphors. Because he says he will urinate in his bone marrow.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And as he's finishing his promo with his quote, "The Raven, nevermore," bullshit, Jarrett just comes out of nowhere with a trash can and just wraps the thing around Raven's head. Then proceeds to beat him down with the trash can and chairs and stuff, getting him in the ring. He sets up a table. Thankfully, instead of just, he could have just taken his belt and run, but apparently he wanted to get some revenge on Raven, but thankfully, while he was setting up the table on that, Raven didn't recover. Jarrett rips the belt off Raven, hits Raven with that too. He goes to put Raven through the table, but Russo's there to stop him. One of the only non-wrestlers among SEX coming out to be the one that actually helps Raven. This is a running theme through the night. But, he stops Jarrett in the corner, letting Raven get up, suplexes Jarrett through the table, and he steals the belt back. And they get run off by Lynn Truth and AMW coming out and helping Jarrett out.
Yeah.
I guess you could argue it's an exciting opening segment. There's, action and stuff, but at the same time, it's silly. It's silly that Russo's the only one that tried to, save Raven. That's just odd.
It is.
For many reasons. I don't understand it. Okay, moving on. We go to the back. Goldilocks is with Estrada. She talks about how last week Mike Sanders was offering him his hand and stuff like that. And he basically explains he was offered a job with SEX. And he actually says he's considering because everything's been going poorly for him lately. And you know what? I understand that. And I don't think you can necessarily blame him for having those thoughts. Because let's look at where Estrada is. He started off on a high note. They were the first match in the show, or in TNA. They won, as them being the Flying Elvises. And since then, Siaki betrayed them, burnt the Elvis gear, and Estrada never really got his revenge. Yang ran off to Japan, and he's come back and he's not an Elvis anymore. Estrada, now being a solo act, at one point said he was going to look for new Elvises. He never managed to accomplish this. He hooks up with Priscilla, who proceeds to, after a few weeks, leave with Brian Lawler. And he's been on for the most part, losing streak. So it's everything's been going poorly for him. So this leads into match number 1, best match of the night, by far, with the second one being the intergender tag team match, but that, Desire and Trinity being what they are, there's no way it's going to beat this. But match number 1 of the night, Amazing Red versus Jorge Estrada. We get the typical opening acrobatic stalemate that we usually see in these X Division matches. Basically, the story here being is that Red is the up-and-coming new guy who has been consistently impressive and has, while not always being victorious, has always been looked strong in the ring, looked like a threat. And we have opposed to him right here, Jorge Estrada, who has been going through hard knock after hard knock after hard knock, has been losing. He has something to prove to himself and everyone around him, and he is just trying to get a win here so that he can pick himself back up. I like that story. Right now, Jorge Estrada is probably the one person I am singly most invested in TNA. Just because his story is interesting, and his story has very little to do with SEX. Still has to do with SEX, but very little. It's still interpersonal, and even with the SEX tangent, you can still get behind it. Anyways, Estrada ends up taking another loss here, getting knocked off the top rope and hit by a combination of the infrared and Editar press. There's no funny business. He loses clean. Mike Sanders comes to the ring, demanding an answer from Estrada about joining SEX. And Estrada responds by knocking Sanders down. Apparently, he is not going to join. But because of this, he gets a chair shot from behind by Glenn Gilberti, who is also known as Disco Inferno. So, we get the reveal here that the director of talent, or whatever the heck the Sanders was saying last week that he would be revealing this week, is Disco Inferno, Glenn Gilberti.
Someone who we know.
I mean, there's plenty of people that we know that they could have gotten. But, well, maybe you don't know, but, general wrestling audiences at the time would have known. Know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But someone we have seen before in TNA helps someone like you, who's not really a wrestling fan, at least see a recognizable face. And it's as much as you could say Gilbert is just another geek among a now mostly stable of geeks. At least some face value, some recognition that of someone that helps a little bit.
Yeah.
Go back to Goldie with Bullet Bob. Says he's running out of solutions, and then Jarrett just grabs him and demands that he gets Russo and Raven in the ring, and he'll figure out a solution himself. Basically saying, I'm going to kill him, or beat him up, or whatever. Jarrett this night is just fired up and wanting to get his hands on people. Or Raven and Russo specifically. That's just all he does all night. All right. Do you have anything to add over anything that we've been through?
No, I really don't.
Yeah, right now this is rough. This is not an entertaining show in the least. We get 6 total matches and only 2 of them are worth a damn. But yeah, match number 2, we get David Flair versus Jerry Lynn. I don't want to watch David Flair wrestle. I barely take notes. At the start of the match, Lynn grabs the sack and goes after Flair, but he doesn't. Flair gets out of the ring, ducks it. So the ref takes it from Lynn. Flair's on the run, getting caught by Lynn. Lynn manages to hold control of the match for a good portion of it. As I say here, the Flair is so bad he can't even do the spot where you miss a shoulder block in the corner, and then you go through and hit the ring post correctly. Instead, just going into the corner and then flying out to the floor.
I laughed so hard at that part. I really, really did.
It's funny, but it's also painful to watch because he's so bad. The only thing, he did the Flair flop in this match, and even that wasn't great. And the Flair flop's really not that hard to do. Victory comes to Flair when Truth tries to steal the burlap sack and nail Flair with it, but miscommunication, mistiming, whatever. He actually ends up accidentally hitting Lynn with it. At least we assume it's an accident, and Flair gets a victory because of this. It is entirely possible, because I don't remember every week since they've shown up, but I think Flair and Sanders might both be undefeated in TNA.
As of right now.
Yeah. Which sucks. Anyways, we get Tenay with BG James in a pre-tape sit-down interview. James talks about, being himself now, talks about his upward momentum in the business was thanks to Russo. And in the middle of this pre-taped interview, Brad Armstrong shows up, BG James's brother, real-life brother, and, starts berating him, and we get things get cut off there. So that happens. Moving on, AMW is now in the ring with the microphones. Says they were unknowns when TNA started, but now they're one of the hardest working teams in the business and one of the best tag teams of the year. And I mean, yeah. They say they didn't just lose to Elix Skipper and Low Key last week. They lost to Triple X, which was a 3-on-2 match. And they want a rematch now. With that, Sports Entertainment Stream comes out saying Triple X aren't there tonight. And then they surround the ring and go in to attack them. They do get run off for a second when the Rock and Roll Express, with Gibson and Morton coming out. I think it's Morton. And for a second there, it looks like these old school 4-time NWA Tag Team Champions are there to help the new up and coming talent until we get swerved. And they hit AMW with chairs and beat them up. Apparently, Rock and Roll Express is with SEX. Just so you know, sweetheart, the term swerve in wrestling basically means to take a situation where you think you know what's happening and then do something different than what you expect.
Just so you know, my nicknames for these two guys is Joe Dirt and his cousin.
Yeah, they rock mullets. So I really can't blame you for that.
And it is the easiest way to remember them for me. So if you ever hear me say Joe Dirt and his cousin, that is who I'm talking about. And I'm sorry for the confusion.
All right. So anyways, after this, we get match number 3, which is Mike Sanders versus Ron the Truth Killings. And I fail at this point. At this point, I'm watching this show and just dreading because we're like 25 minutes in, a 2-hour program, and our third match is Mike Sanders.
Yeah. Needless to say, he was not happy about this job.
I was not happy about. I love wrestling. There are so many years of TNA that I love, even the dumb, goofy years I love. But this is so grating because watching Mike Sanders and David Flair and this crap week after week when they're just not that good is so grating. I think what they should have done with these two, instead of having them be like in-ring talent, you could have had the better in-ring talent being the ones that actually do the fighting, and you could have these two be the geeks on the outside that are being nuisances. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it would work a lot better. And then we can finally, instead of watching them go through these dull matches, we could, just have them just get their comeuppance. There's so much better way to do this than have these two wrestle.
Yeah.
But anyways, I noticed in the match that apparently Sanders is competent at putting on submission holds, which he shows off in this match. and pretty much only that. And this versus Truth several times. You have to get rope breaks. But, like, my biggest issue I have with these matches with Flair and Sanders is that their opponents have to limit themselves to work with them because they're just so limited themselves already. Flair and Sanders. Anyways, at the end comes, Flair comes out, and Lynn tries to, stop him for some reason. Oh, wait, no. Now, this makes sense. Flair comes out with his, like, burlap sack. Lynn tries to stop him. And for some reason, he was climbing into the ring. I guess Truth didn't understand that. He goes and knocks Lynn down, I think was what was supposed to be happening. And this gives Sanders a chance to get a roll-up pin victory.
Yeah, I think so.
And then we see Lynn and Truth exchange some words in the ring. They're, frustrated with each other. But, it doesn't get to brawling or anything. I assume we're going to see that come to a head either... Because next week we have the four-corner elimination match, right? That has these four in it.
I believe
Sanders, Flair, Truth, and Lynn.
I believe so, yeah.
So I assume that's where this is going to come to a head, and either they're going to get on the same page, and the whole tease will be for nothing. The whole tease of the breakdown is for nothing, or they will finally go at it, and one of them will defect, or at least just not be there to help anymore. That's where I'm getting. It's where I think this is going. It's one of those two. I don't actually know. Styles comes out with a microphone. I assume it's to demand a title match. I don't think I was wrong. He repeats he's not with anyone, not with Plumtree, not with SEX and Russo. Says that he was the best. Actually, really, what he says, he was the Mac Daddy of the X division.
Yeah, he did say that.
Specifically. But now he's ready to become a world heavyweight champion. And then he brags about beating Zabisco, says he beat him in about 5 minutes. If he had 10 minutes, he could do it twice. And then he says he's not leaving until he gets the belt. Which this prompts Raven to come out saying that he is the one that Styles needs to talk to if he wants to become champion. But then also says Styles isn't ready to come up to the same level as someone like Raven. After they trade some insults, Styles demands that he leaves the belt there and goes away and tells him to go shoot up some more heroin.
I mean, this is after him calling Raven kilt-wearing belt thief, as I call him, a needle dick. I'm pretty sure that's what he called him.
Yeah, I just said they traded insults because I didn't feel like writing down the specific insults. I don't care. They just trade insults. It's pretty common. So I just don't care. They called tiny dick. Styles calls him a tiny dick. Raven insinuates that Styles is gay. Blah blah blah. Moving on. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, because of this, Raven, lays down the belt, and they get into each other's faces. They do get pulled apart before they come to blows, but as the refs are pulling them apart, Jarrett comes out and goes after both of them. He throws Raven out of the ring, and hits the stroke on Styles, and takes his belt back. Good for him. Now, if he was smart, he wouldn't have put his belt in danger again tonight, but he does. Anyways, after that's all sorted out, Styles is actually still in the ring when Larry Zabisco comes out again. And he's in his wrestling gear. Tells Styles that basically he doesn't have the wisdom and knowledge that he needs yet, that he's still way too young. I also learned apparently the cameraman's name is Gunner. I assume this is the same Gunner that is later a security person and then becomes a wrestler, and no one can change my mind on this.
Hey, at least he moved up the right way.
There legitimately is someone that's called Gunner that's a wrestler in TNA later. So since they called the cameraman Gunner, my headcanon now is that's the same guy.
I love you.
I love you too. So with this, basically Zabisco says, you know what? You said you could beat me in 10 minutes, twice in 10 minutes. So how about you do it? And if you can't, I'm going to become your manager. Basically saying, if I'm your manager, I think I can get you to the world championship. Styles doesn't want to have any of this because he wants to be his own man. Doesn't want to be under the tutelage of anyone. He doesn't think he needs it. So we get match number 4 tonight: Styles versus Zabisco. Return match from last week. But with the stipulation now, he's got to beat Zabisco twice in 10 minutes, or let him become his manager. We see Zabisco is turning submissions to pins into submissions on Styles. It's weird because Zabisco is doing almost the same thing Sanders was doing for a lot of his match, but Zabisco does it so much better. Is able to do it so much better. Ring psychology, tells a much better story. It's just amazing the difference between someone that has a lot of talent and charisma and someone that is just bland. Know what I mean?
Tell us how you really feel, babe.
That's how I really feel. There's a reason why he's the living legend, Larry Zabisco. He's able to tell a story in the ring. He was a good wrestler. Outdated style, I guess, by today's standards, but whatever. It's about 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 50 seconds actually left in the match when Styles gets his first fall on Zabisco with basically his first offense against him. He hits it like a DDT, float over DDT in and gets a pin. At this point, Plumtree's out there again. He's trying to help Styles out, helps him get rope breaks, tries to slip Styles' knuckles, which Zabisco manages to block and make Styles lose them. Then he tries to hit Plumtree tries to hit Zabisco in the face with powder. Zabisco's one step ahead of that, ducks it, and then knocks out Plumtree. Get about 1 minute left. AJ's finally starting to get in some offense. At 30 seconds, both men are down. They knocked each other down. We get a double down. All while Plumtree is very, 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 very frantically trying to get his chair to stay in the corner. I've seen Plumtree try this multiple times. He always seems to fumble it. He eventually gets it in there, but he's not good at it.
I have nothing to say there. I'm sorry.
Anyways, it's about like 10 seconds left. Styles tries to whip Zabisco, but he gets reversed and he gets whipped into the chair. He manages to kick out of the pin, but the time limit has passed. Styles did not get the second fall in Zabisco, so now Larry Zabisco is apparently going to be managing AJ Styles. Well, that's more interesting than most of the things tonight, so I give thumbs up to that. What about you?
Not terrible.
I don't mind seeing more Larry Zabisco. He's not a bad talker. I don't know how well he does with Styles, but especially right now, Styles heel Styles does much better when someone else is doing the talking for him. So I don't mind this at all.
He is so funny.
Anyways, that was the third best match of the night. Maybe fourth. I don't know. That one and the one between A&W and Rock and Roll Express are really close. Because it's again old guys versus young talent. Though actually, you know what? Actually, to be fair though, the Rock and Roll Express didn't seem to limit Storm and Harris anywhere near as much as any of the other guys seemed to tonight. We saw a little bit of flippy stuff from Styles, but not very much. Storm and Harris almost did all their normal shit.
True.
So actually would have to probably place this number 4. All right. We get Percy Pringle coming out. Apparently, it was not enough just to explain himself online in some article. We getting somewhat of an explanation here. And I have to say, this segment right here is like the worst segment that you could possibly have done. This is such a cluster.
I love how you're trying to limit yourself of saying that word.
I mean, it's for YouTube too, not just Lent.
I decided to give up chocolate for Lent.
And I'm trying to give up cursing.
Not that we normally do Lent. This is just kind of a, what's the worst that can happen? I give up chocolate for 40 days.
Yeah, but let's get back to the show. Goldie's there to ask him questions. He says Russo won't ever know the feeling of being honored by others because of what he does. And then Tony Schiavone comes out, says he's ashamed of what Percy did kissing Russo's ass a few weeks ago. This becomes another calling Goldilocks a whore segment.
Yeah, what is
and kind of blames her for like why he's been unemployed for 2 years now. All I have written here in all caps is more talking. Was it at this point there's some random guy in the audience just shouts out, "We want wrestling!"
It was funny.
It was funny indeed. Schiavone asks TNA to come in the ring, says that TNA kept him out of TNA. We don't know if that's true or not. Russo comes out. Guess Schiavone is with Russo now because they go back to the SEX locker room. How many people are in SEX now?
More than they should be. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see. There's the Triple X, Egomaniac,
and Desire,
and his side piece.
The Harris twins.
Yeah, the security guard and security guard's twin.
BG James. Russo. Sanders and Flair. Gilberti. Rock and Roll Express.
Did we mention kilt wearing belt?
Raven. That's 15.
That's 10.
No.
Oh, I know how I did that. Sorry.
That is 15.
Sorry. The way I do it is I do it like I do 10 and then like once I get to 10 I start counting again on one hand. So.
Okay. No, that's special. 15, sweetheart.
I'm special.
Anyways. This was just more WCW politics nonsense. And I'm getting so sick of it. And you know what? Really sucks is that it doesn't end like when SEX is done. We still get more of that years down the line.
What? That is...
There's a whole storyline with Sting and Kevin Nash and shit where they do that too. And I'm just so done with it. I'm ready to get past the SEX crap because I know there's things get better again. But we gotta persevere and get to it. Moving along.
Moving right along. Sorry. I don't even like Muppets. I don't know why I had that song stuck in my head.
I don't know either. Match number 5. Intergender tag team match. Desire and Sonny Siaki versus Trinity and Kid Cash. Cash is in control of Siaki for most of the beginning of the match. And Desire is useless at this in the beginning to the point where Cash could use their corner with impunity to just do things like dives without any sort of interference from Desire. She doesn't try to sweep the legs or anything. She just watches as her man gets beat up. Eventually, Desire tags in, and instead of fighting her, because apparently in this particular intergender match, you don't have to tag out to make the women fight each other and the men fight each other. The men and women can fight each other in this. Fine. But Kid Cash is a gentleman, and he tags in Trinity instead of fighting Desire. And Trinity basically outmaneuvers Desire for the most part.
Sorry, I laughed so hard at one point because Egomaniac was kind of like leaning on his corner, and Trinity came flying at him, and he raised his hands up like, "I'm not touching her. Not touching her."
It was just so he doesn't get rated by the ref.
I just thought that was
You'll see that in regular tag matches too.
I've never seen that. And I thought it was funny. I don't know if you saw that, but it was funny to me. Sorry, now we can go along again.
Okay. Desire does eventually get some advantage back and tag Siaki in so he can try to beat up Trinity. He does eventually tag back out to Desire, and at this point, Athena makes an appearance, gives the distraction enough for Trinity to roll up Desire and get the victory. So another screwy finish. But Cash and Trinity are on a roll, and they're building again. It looks like they're building Cash up to be a legitimate threat to the X Division Championship,
Bum, bum, bum.
which is fine by me. Cash is competent talent. We'll see where this goes. We'll see if they can keep the momentum. We'll see if they can keep Cash looking good before he gets his title shot. We know it's not quite yet because next week it's Red versus Siaki. We find that out next because Tony Schiavone comes back out. He asks Siaki to talk about that match, but before that ever happens, Conan just shows up and starts beating up Siaki with the kendo stick. So 3rd week in a row, apparently Conan, even though he's been escorted out of the building, every time, has never been actually arrested for these blatant assaults and batteries when he's not under contract or anything. But on his way out, he tells TNA that he'll give him an interview to explain what's going on. So next week, Conan interviews and tells us why he's doing what he's doing. At least we'll get an answer on that, because that's one of the only other things going on right now that's not like immediately just a SEX storyline.
True.
Crap.
Tell me we've been recording this whole time.
No, I just accidentally closed my notes.
Oh, okay. I was like, because that has happened to us before.
No, we're recording.
Okay.
Okay.
That was the time that we had to record, what?
And
3 times?
now we're fine. We're fine.
Doesn't want to remember it because...
We see Jarrett for a moment saying that Russo's going to regret ever having met him. Moving on. That's literally the only thing we do. We cut to Jarrett just to say that.
Yeah, that's true. I thought he said something else.
That was the gist of it, and I just write down the gist of it. I don't write down usually specific lines unless they stand out to me.
I don't write any of this 90%, or at least what they say in general. Most of this is by memory.
Match number 6, Rock and Roll Express versus AMW. The AMW rush the ring like normally do. Express tries to double whip them into each other, but they do a little do-si-do whip each other, and then they knock down the Express. AMW are outpacing the Express, dominating this match for the beginning of it until cheating ends up putting Storm to the face in peril, gets worked over for a while. Build up to the hot tag to Harris, and then they get into death sentence. But Skipper, who was not supposed to be there because we were told that Triple X wasn't there tonight, shows up during a distraction to hit Storm with the belt and give Rock and Roll Express the victory that way. Because of course they did. Another screwy finish. After this, the New Church shows up and starts attacking Skipper.
Really attacking too.
Oh yeah. So the disciples in the New Church are, not on the side of SEX. And for this, they get a title match next week.
Maybe they'll win.
Maybe.
They probably won't.
And to end the night, the last segment for the night, we go to the SEX locker room.
Which is the bathroom.
It looks like a bathroom, yeah. I forget the reason. I know I know it just goes to Tony Schiavone and he's going to interview Raven or something. But Jarrett just busts in the locker room, and keep in mind this is a locker room that's full of not just Raven and Tony Schiavone and Russo. There are other wrestlers in there, but Jarrett just busts in, drags Raven out of there, and starts beating him up again, hitting him with stuff. And the only one that follows him out and tries to help is, of course, Vince Russo.
I'm just saying, sunglasses kind of reminds me of the Kool-Aid Man. Just busting.
Just the door swings him. Oh yeah! If I ever get around to being able to intersperse video footage into our reviews, because I have the time and it's fiscally viable, because I have to spend hours doing it every week, but
You're gonna do that?
Eventually I would like to, if we're in a position where I it's worth it to spend the time to do that. I understand that this is just voice right now, and it can be considered like the laziest form.
Honestly, we would even do this while we're watching, but my laptop sucks.
Yeah. But anyways. Russo grabs Jarrett's legs. And this gives Raven enough time to recover. So, Raven turns things around. Russo struggles to get a table into the ring.
It was so bad. They really, like him and Kilt wearing belt thief.
Well, there's not much Raven could do. He's just trying to pull it in. Russo was the one that let the table legs drop to the point where it was like getting him caught on the ropes.
Like, I thought I did things bad, but like he took that to a whole new level there.
Okay, and moving on. I want to just finish this.
I know you do.
Anyways, Jarrett calls in. Oh, no, okay, anyways. They set up the table. Raven's going to suplex Jarrett through the table just like he did earlier in the night. But he turns it around, does a face flaps Raven through the table, and then lays him out with the belt. Jarrett then tries to call Russo into the ring, but Styles comes out from behind and uses the stroke on Jarrett on the belt, and the show ends with Styles stealing the belt.
And there you have it. Jeff Jarrett dies. Sorry. Kinda did that this time. Not really. Alright, honey. Feast or fire?
Fired.
Wow, didn't even let me finish my sentence.
This show was worse than last week's.
Oh my god, it was. Well, by that omission there, I'm pretty sure that you all can guess what mine is. It's fired as well. Noodles and Noodles lost and got her in the process, and that's sad. And there was like only 2 good matches. Sorry.
All right. Well, hopefully things get better. That's just where we're at now. Just hope things get better.
Hopefully. No
Yeah.
guarantee.
No, that's just where we're at now. I just want things to get better. I want less of this talking. I want less of these WCW politics. I just want the good wrestling again.
Well,
And I'm waiting for it. And I'm hoping it comes. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for dealing with us, listening to us through this hellscape that is sports entertainment extreme. And we will see you all next time. Keep on wrestling.
have a wonderful night.